Hello, welcome to another episode of the With Love from Liv show. My name is Liv and I love that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me today. So first of all, if you are watching this video, I just want to point out that I am not getting beat. Okay, I did cupping, and so I've got some bruises because I had some toxins. I went home and I ate a lot of sugar with my family, but that's how we roll. So just please don't be concerned. I'm fine. So speaking of which, I went home and honestly, I had some really, really great chats with my little brother. He is just back from his mission. If you don't know, I actually went and picked him up in Italy. He served in Rome last year. My husband and I went with my parents and we went and got him, and it was honestly so much fun. And I love that he's home. He's just like the greatest kid. And so he and I were talking, and he is, of course, just in that stage where he's thinking about dating, and he hasn't dated for 2 years. And so he's feeling a little rusty, but he's also kind of in this space of like, do I want to get married right now? Right. Because he's a smarty pants. Okay. He is working on like aspirations to work for NASA. He wants to create his own space station. He's like a little mini Elon Musk. So cute. And so we just kind of were talking about his dreams and what he's going for and what he wants to create in his life. And the conversation honestly was so great. I loved it so much that I wanted to share part of it here with you, because a lot of what he was asking and a lot of what he was concerned about is consistently what I hear from this community. And a lot of that concern is about, well, one, dating, right? Everybody's so concerned about dating. And his other thing is that he's like, how do I know if I am like doing the right thing? Like, how do I know if all these aspirations are righteous aspirations? How do I know if, this is like what God wants me to do? And so that's something that we were kind of playing out and talking through. And the funny thing is, this is honestly something that I talk about all the time, because I am a very strong proponent that there is no separation between your will and God's will, right? Like I say that all the time. And with that, there is so much concern around, well, are my desires righteous or are they wicked? Am I being too worldly? Am I not listening to the Spirit enough? And it's just like there's all this judgment around it. And it brought me back to a book that I read maybe last year, the year before. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics, and I have definitely talked about it on this podcast before, but I think that it's worth bringing it up again, because as he was talking about, how do I make all these distinctions, but then also how do I become successful? How do I realize my passions? How do I create heaven on earth for myself? Right. And as we were talking about it, that book came up because in it, there is a principle, and Psycho-Cybernetics is, yes, the title of this book, but it is also a psychology of, it's psychology cybernetics. And it's the psychology of understanding how self-imaging and your subconscious brain work together. It's very, very fascinating. And cybernetics is basically the mechanics of how your brain works. And so psychocybernetics is the understanding of the psychology with the actual physiology of what's going on and how your thoughts impact your actions, right? So very interesting. And as I was talking with him, this book just kind of kept coming up. And one of the key principles that Maxwell Maltz, who wrote the book, talks about is that we are all blessed. We are all created. All human brains are programmed with what's called a success mechanism. And the concept here is that your brain is hardwired to create the most successful outcomes for yourself. So you can kind of think of it as a rocket ship that has been, because my brother wants to work for NASA. So you can think of it as a rocket ship that has been programmed to go up to the moon, right? And you have been programmed with all the most successful outcomes, and you're not even conscious of it. But in any given situation, your brain will basically highlight, here's how to create success in this situation. However, that tends to get thrown off course and it tends to get messed up because we start interfering. And so when I talked about this on the podcast before, I actually put it into the context of if you're talking to someone cute and you just met them in person, you're on a first date or you're meeting them at church or, whatever, and you start talking and you're kind of on a roll, or this could be like you're giving a speech, right? But you're on a roll and you stutter. And what happens is if you become conscious of the stutter and you think, I just stuttered over my word. Do I sound stupid? How do I be more intentional about the next words that I say? And you kind of like start to interfere, then basically you mess up your own success mechanism and you make it worse, right? So just think about if you've ever been having a conversation with someone and you start tripping over your words, have you ever thought about when you can just kind of gloss over it and it's not really a big deal, versus if you just keep trying to correct yourself and you just keep making it worse, and what the context of both of those situations is. Because usually when you trip up on your words and you just kind of gloss over it and you don't continue tripping up over them, it's because you're talking to people who you're comfortable with. This could be your friends, it could be your family, it could be your roommate, someone who you aren't afraid of or assuming their judgment. And so you don't interfere. And so your internal success mechanism makes all the corrections for you and kind of works that all out. And it's all subconscious. You don't have to worry about it. Versus if you're talking to a cutie and you want to kind of control their judgment or you want to control their perception of you. And so you start consciously interfering with the mistake that you made and you start engaging with the mistake that you made and you make it worse. And that's kind of how the success mechanism works. The cool thing is that success mechanism and psychocybernetics, these are all science terms, right? And they're basically the same thing as the light of Christ. And this is what I told my brother. We are all born with the light of Christ. We are all born with the innate desire and capability of exaltation, returning to heaven to live with God, to become gods, right? And it is only our interfering with the light of Christ within us that messes us up and trips us and takes us off course. And I see that so often with people when they're dating, when they're trying to build a career, when they're trying to build a business, because I do business coaching as well. People get so caught up in trying to correct things all the time and trying to control things all the time and trying to like create judgment around, am I being righteous enough? Am I being, yoked to the Lord enough? Am I usurping God's will and for my will, whatever. But the thing is, when you start asking all of those questions, when you start intruding on the light of Christ with all of these doubts, with all of these insecurities, with the idea that you have to control everything, and if you don't, then you're not going to get what you want. Or on the other hand, if there's nothing that you can do and everything has just been predetermined by God, and so you'll get married at his mercy, like neither of those things are true, and neither of those things honor the light of Christ that is within you, right? Because if you are not interfering with your own success mechanism, if you are just keeping your attention and your focus on eternal marriage, living a good life, exaltation, mansions on high, worlds without ends, those promises that are in the long term that we have been gifted, we have been created to receive. If all you ever do is say, yes, that's my default, that's where I'm going, I don't have to question myself all of the time, and I don't have to interfere all of the time, and I still have to move forward, right? You can't just like sit there. Oh my gosh, I hear this all the time from singles. Like, I wish that I could just sit at home and my Prince Charming, or my whatever the female equivalent is, my Cinderella, I guess, comes and knocks on the door. That is the only way that I'll ever get married. So here I will stay until somebody knocks on my door. Well, I'm sorry, but if that's your approach, then you're going to be waiting a really long time. Like a really long time. Probably forever, because that's not likely to happen. If you want to get the successful outcomes, if you want exaltation, if you want eternal marriage, you do have to be moving forward at all times. And if you don't interfere too much with judgment, with trying to be too controlling, trying to mitigate your own fears, doubts, insecurities, then you're going to be led to every best possible outcome, because that's what the light of Christ is doing within you. And that's not just for righteous decisions such as, should I serve a mission? Should I take out my endowment? Whatever. That is also true, and that is also guiding you when it comes to building a business, or choosing a job, or deciding to move somewhere, or deciding who to date. Because that's another thing that I hear all the time is, well, how do I know if this is the right person to date? How do I know if I'm choosing wrong or whatever? And I'm just like, you don't have to worry about it so much, right? If you can get out of your own way, if you can stop messing with your own success mechanism, then you will be led to all the right people. You will be led to all the right outcomes. You will be led to all the right opportunities. Your job isn't to make these things happen. Your job isn't to try to coerce someone to date you. Your job isn't trying to manipulate situations so that you can get a certain opportunity or have someone say yes to you, anything like that. Your job is to hold the knowledge and the belief that the light of Christ is guiding you, that the light of Christ is your success mechanism, and move forward and not worry about it so much, because it's the worrying about it that's interfering. It's the worrying about it that's causing you to stutter and to stumble and to mess things up with people who you could have a great connection with, or to sabotage relationships, or to take yourself out of the running for a job promotion or whatever. If you could just chill out and trust and move forward, knowing that any decision that you make from a state of I choose exaltation, right? We know that judgment, quote unquote, is a choice. It's not we die and the Lord is like, well, I know that you wanted celestial kingdom, but too bad, so sad, you get to go to hell, right? We know that's not how it's going. And if that's not how it goes, then the only other option is that we choose where we want to go. And that was something that I was kind of, I wouldn't say concerned about, but I was guilting myself a lot because I'm not perfect and I do things that I know I shouldn't, and I make mistakes and whatever. And I just would be like, but I want exaltation. I want the celestial kingdom, but like, oh, I do this thing and it's bad, or it's, not very Christ-like. And so I just don't get to get there. And like, how could I just get there? And then I was like, oh, I just choose it. I just decide. And it doesn't have to be this huge internal struggle. And I kind of came to that multiple times, especially as I was dating and especially as I was building this business, because I was like, well, how do I know if I'm really helping singles? How do I know if this is like what God wants me to do? How do I know if this is right or whatever? And then I was like, oh, yeah, I could just choose that it is. That doesn't mean I'll make every decision perfectly. That doesn't mean I'll never make mistakes as a business owner or as a girlfriend and then a wife. It just means that I am not choosing to engage with the mistakes. I'm not choosing to entertain or expand the fears and the doubts. I just choose to move forward knowing that my end game, my end goal is exaltation. I'm not like, will I make it there? I'm not like, is that the outcome or could I be wrong? No, I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think that there's any chance that I'm not going to the celestial kingdom, because I just choose that that's for me. I just choose that that's where I'm going. And when I decide that and I stop judging myself for everything, then it is also a lot easier to extend myself grace and to extend grace for other people, because I'm not like, oh, well, I made this decision, now I don't get to go there. No, I am just like, this is where I'm going, and I will stumble along the way, and I don't need to worry about it too much because I have a success mechanism. I have the light of Christ within me that will correct those mistakes on their own. I don't need to get so worried about it. And that doesn't necessarily mean like ignore all of that. Sometimes there are things to address or work on or improve or whatever. I just mean that you don't have to stress yourself out about it. You don't have to be like, will I get married or won't I get married? If you decide, I'm going to get married, I'm going to receive exaltation, I'm going to the celestial kingdom, guess what? You will, because the light of Christ will direct you to every decision that will bring you there, unless you are blocking it out through your own insecurity and inability or unwillingness to move forward. So if you just choose to constantly take steps forward and you make that choice and that decision with the peace and just the relief that you know how to get there, you're going to get there. And you don't have to worry about it so much. Gosh, I just wish that singles could chill out about dating just so much, because dating and so many things in life, if you could just chill, then so many things would be so much better for you. Okay. And relaxing about it isn't to minimize what you're going through. I know that it's hard to be single. I know that it's frustrating to get your hopes up and get them crushed. I know that it sucks to get rejected. I'm not saying that you can't be bummed out about things. I'm not saying that you can't feel frustration or hard emotions about things. I'm just saying that you don't need to then create stories that further impede or mess up your direction and your forward momentum, right? It's not rejection that stops you from getting married. It's I was rejected, and so how do I change myself so I can never get rejected again? Or I got rejected, and that means that I'm a loser and that no one's ever going to like me. And I'm going to create this whole story about it that further trips up my efforts and prevents me from making more connections. That's the problem. Okay. It's not the mistakes that hold you back. It is the stories that you create about what the mistakes mean about you. It is the engagement with the mistakes and judging yourself about them that will trip you up. Okay. So let me know if that's helpful. Let me know if you need me to break that down in kind of a different context or whatever. But I had that conversation with my brother, and he let me know that it was really helpful to have it kind of broken down like that. And he actually made a joke a few weeks ago, because I quoted him on something else. Like I posted about something that he said to me, and he was like, do I give you all of your ammunition for or do I give you all of your content for like what you post? And I was like, well, yes, I do. I will post about conversations that we have, but it's because you're single. It's because you're asking questions that other people have. And so if I can make it make sense to you, and we can leave a conversation and you feel better, then that's going to help someone else. So yes, if we have a conversation and you tell me, hey, that was really, really helpful to hear things broken down that way, I'm going to share it with you guys because I love you and I want you to have a great life, and I want you to be successful, and I want you to get everything that you want without judging yourself about it, and without wondering if you're worthy of having it, and without trying to make it mean that you're too worldly if you want it, right? You don't have to worry about it so much. And I promise that if you stop worrying about it so much and just start moving forward with the decision that what you do is in honor of the version of you who's going to heaven, then you will either always make the right decision, or if you make the wrong one, it's not going to trip you up because you can acknowledge, oh, yeah, that was the wrong decision. That's not the outcome that I wanted. And for me, I kind of stopped putting things through the lens of like, is this bad or good? And I just started putting things through the lens of, did that expand me or did that shrink me? Did that give me more life, more experience? Did I feel better or did I feel worse? And when I put it through that lens of not, is this right or wrong? Am I good or bad because I did this? And just said, oh, did this decision, did this conversation, did this thing that I did, action that I took, whatever, did it make me feel better and expanded and full of more happiness and more life or not? And then I don't have to judge myself, and I don't have to say, oh, well, it didn't, so I'm a bad person and I need to, like, I don't know, whatever. Instead, I just said, oh, well, I'm here to receive the most life possible. I am here for eternal increase. I am here for divine expansion. And that didn't honor my divine expansion. So I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to say that again. I get kind of involved in Facebook fights. It is not my most charming attribute, I know. And I was in one not that long ago. I mostly stopped. But there was a post I just like could not help myself, and I just got on there and engaged. And in the past, it would like make my heart beat really fast, and I would get like super riled up about it, and then I would like be mad at myself because I did that, and I knew that it shouldn't, because what's the point of having fights with strangers on the internet? And then I would like kind of get into this shame spiral of like, oh man, like would Jesus have done? Would Jesus have fought on my end? Like all those kinds of judgments. And then I was just like, you know what? That didn't add anything to my experience. And it probably didn't add anything to the experience of the person that I was engaging with. And so I won't do that again. And that was it. And I haven't done it since. And I haven't even been like compelled to. I haven't felt like I can see posts that are inflammatory now. And I'm just like, that doesn't expand me. And I can just move past it. And it is no big deal. So I hope that helps. I hope that that offers you a little bit of peace of mind and some confidence in yourself that you know how to be successful. You know how to get the outcomes that you want. You know how to connect with people. You just have to stop getting in your own way. You have to stop playing out old patterns and belief systems that don't honor the light of Christ in you. Okay? And if you need help, I'm here to help. I do have one opening for 3 months of support. So if that is something that you would be interested in, go and apply for it. All work with me is by application only at this point. So go apply. And if you're a good fit, then you will hear from me. And if not, you'll probably hear from my assistant coach. But either way, I'm not going to leave you in the lurch. I'm going to do what I can to offer you something. So I want to hear from you. I want to connect with you. Let me know if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you have anything specifically you want me to talk about. I am happy to create episodes around what's most helpful for you. You just got to let me know what it is. Okay. I love you. I will talk to you later.